I crashed my mom's Mother's Day lunch without an invite. She looked me over and said, "Don't touch a plate. You weren't counted. Your sister paid the $3,000. My sister smirked and added, "Just stand there. This table isn't for you." I didn't argue. She ran the whole bill on my saved card. I let it go, left a folded note on Mom's chair, and walked out. She read it and went silent. Then cards started declining, reservations got canceled, and my phone lit up with 47 missed calls in minutes. I walked into that restaurant uninvited on Mother's Day. My mom took one look at me, let her eyes drag up and down like I was something stuck to her shoe, and said, "Don't even think about picking up a plate. You weren't counted in the reservation." My sister just smiled that razor blade smile of hers and added real quiet, "Stand there if you want. This table isn't for people like you." I didn't argue with them, didn't cause a scene, just folded up this note I'd written beforehand, set it down on my mom's chair, and walked straight back out through those fancy doors. She found it maybe 10 minutes later, read it. Then apparently her whole world started caving in real time because my phone lit up with 47 missed calls in the next hour. But I was already halfway across town with my notifications shut off and zero intention of picking up. My name's Kyle. I'm 32. And if there's one lesson I've absorbed over 3 decades on this planet, it's that being reliable can quietly transform into a prison sentence when nobody bothers noticing you're locked up behind bars you built yourself. For the last 8 years straight, I've been the person my mother texts when her mortgage payment comes up short, when the electric bill doubles in summer because she refuses to adjust the thermostat in that 4-bedroom house, when her credit card maxes out and she needs someone to cover the minimums so her credit score doesn't crater before her next statement prints, when her car insurance renews and she's somehow $200 light that month. I've been the name on the wire transfers that never bounce, the safety net stretched so thin it practically vibrates in the wind, the dependable son who never says no, because somewhere along the way he convinced himself that's what good sons are supposed to do. Mom doesn't even ask anymore. Hasn't asked in probably 5 years now. She just sends texts with dollar amounts and due dates. Sometimes there's a heart emoji at the end. Most times, there isn't. I stopped looking for thank yous somewhere around year 3. Told myself families don't need to verbalize gratitude like strangers do. That love shows up in actions instead of words. That my role was providing and hers was receiving, and somewhere in that unspoken contract, we were both just playing the parts we'd been assigned. Except there's always been this whole second layer to the arrangement that nobody talks about directly, but everyone understands perfectly. My younger sister Ashley has never once in her entire adult life asked me for money. Never had to. Because in my mother's universe, Ashley is the golden child, the success story, the daughter who graduated summa cum laude from some private university I couldn't afford to visit, let alone attend, who married this corporate attorney named Trevor, who pulls in 6 figures annually, who bought a house with a 3-car garage in a neighborhood with good schools and property values that keep climbing, who posts photos on social media that make my mother's entire chest puff up with visible pride at every family function we attend. Ashley gets celebrated at every single dinner table conversation. Her name drops into every phone call my mom has with her friends. She's the daughter who made it big in life, the one who validated all those years of parenting, the trophy child you show off at gatherings and brag about to neighbors. I'm the son who pays for all of it, so she can look like she made it big. I've spent 32 years being quietly dependable in the background of this family. Learned really early that I wasn't the favorite kid in this particular dynamic. I was the backup plan. The insurance policy you keep filed away in a drawer somewhere. The one they turn to when pipes burst, or transmissions failed, or credit card statements came due with numbers they couldn't cover. But never the one they thought to include when reservations got made at expensive restaurants, or when family photos got staged for social media feeds. My whole childhood was essentially a highlight reel of moments where I sat at the edge of the table watching Ashley command center stage. She got birthday parties with rented bounce houses and professional entertainers who did magic tricks. I got hand-me-down gifts wrapped in whatever wrapping paper was left over from last Christmas. She got the college fund my parents had been building since before she was even born. I got a part-time job at a hardware store when I turned 16, so I could cover my own textbooks after I enrolled at community college, because that's all I could afford. She got the praise and the attention and the constant validation that she was special and talented and destined for great things in life. I got silence, nods, the absence of criticism, which I learned to interpret as approval, because that was the absolute closest thing I ever got to recognition. And somehow, across all those years growing up in that house, with those dynamics playing out daily, I convinced myself this was just how families naturally worked, that every family has assigned roles, and mine happened to be the strong one holding things together. That someone had to be the foundation supporting the structure, while everyone else enjoyed the house built on top. I accepted that someone was supposed to be me without questioning if that was actually fair or sustainable. Fast forward to right now. My mother lives in this four-bedroom house on the edge of a neighborhood she could never in a million years afford on her own income. Not even remotely close. The mortgage payment alone runs $2,300 every single month. I cover it. Have covered it every month for 8 solid years without missing a single payment. The utilities average about $400 in summer months when she keeps every room air-conditioned to Arctic temperatures, even though she realistically only uses maybe 3 of those rooms. In winter, it hits $700 or more because she absolutely refuses to touch the thermostat and just walks around in t-shirts while the heating system works overtime, burning through energy. I cover all of that too. Every penny. Car insurance for her runs $180 monthly. Health insurance premium is another $450 because she's got this plan through the marketplace with a decent deductible. Credit card minimum payments average out to about $320. Across 3 different cards she's maxed out over various years buying things she definitely didn't need but wanted in the moment. Subscription services she signed up for and then completely forgot about drain another $85 every month. Pharmacy copays for medications she could easily get in generic form, but insists on name brand cost around $110 on average. Lawn care service she hired runs $160. Pest control is $75 quarterly, which breaks down to about $25 monthly. Annual HOA dues in that neighborhood run about $2,400, which averages to $200 per month when you spread it out. Add it all up. The monthly total comes to roughly $5,800. Some months it creeps higher, when unexpected expenses hit like appliance repairs or medical bills. It never drops lower, never gets cheaper. I've been maintaining this exact financial arrangement since I turned 24 years old and got my first real job with actual benefits and steady paychecks. 8 years of automatic transfers. 8 years of wire payments. 8 years of covering whatever gaps appeared in her monthly budget without asking questions about where the money was going or why she couldn't manage her own finances like a functioning adult. You want to do the math on that? $5,800 multiplied by 12 months multiplied by 8 years. That works out to more than $550,000 transferred from my accounts directly into hers. Over $500,000. Not loans with formal repayment schedules and interest rates. Not investments where I expected eventual returns. Straight gifts. Because she never once in 8 years offered to pay me back even partially, and I never had the spine to actually bring up the subject of repayment. Ashley knows absolutely nothing about this financial arrangement. Or maybe she knows everything and just performs ignorance really convincingly because acknowledging it would require her to actually do something about it. Either way, she's never once in 8 years acknowledged that the house she visits every Sunday for brunch, the car my mother drives to her weekly yoga classes across town, the designer handbag my mother carried to Ashley's wedding reception 3 years ago that probably cost more than I make in a month. All of it exists and continues existing because I pay the bills that make that exact lifestyle possible. Ashley gets to play her role as the beloved, successful daughter who made it in life. I get to play my role as the ATM machine with a pulse and a bank account. And my mother orchestrates this entire dynamic without ever once admitting what's actually happening behind the scenes. She's never corrected Ashley when my sister casually mentions covering family dinners or buying mom thoughtful gifts for holidays. Never told her friends during their weekly lunch dates that I'm the actual reason the electricity stays on and the mortgage doesn't default into foreclosure. Never once posted a single photo of me on any of her social media feeds with captions about gratitude or pride or appreciation. I exist in her life purely as a utility function, not a son with feelings and needs. Just a recurring automated payment that keeps the lights operational and the water running through pipes. At least that's exactly what I was until Mother's Day rolled around this year. The restaurant was called the Harbor View, one of those upscale waterfront establishments with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the bay and white tablecloths that probably cost more money to professionally launder than I personally spent on groceries in an entire month. The kind of place where you absolutely need reservations booked 3 months in advance minimum, and the dress code gets strictly enforced at the front door by staff. I'd overheard my mother mention it during a phone conversation maybe 3 weeks prior to the actual day. She was talking to one of her friends, using that particular excited tone in her voice she always gets when describing something expensive that makes her feel important and valued. Said Ashley had reserved the Harbor View for Mother's Day lunch. Said it was going to be elegant and sophisticated and exclusive. She never mentioned I was invited to this lunch. Never sent me the reservation confirmation. Never asked if I wanted to attend or if I had other plans that day. I just happened to overhear her describing this whole lunch plan through her phone speaker while I was in the middle of transferring money online to cover her credit card minimum payment that particular month. I decided to show up anyway. Figured what's the worst that could happen. Wore my cleanest button-down shirt that didn't have any visible stains or worn patches. Put on my one pair of decent khakis that still fit properly and didn't have holes developing in unfortunate places. Drove across town to the waterfront district, parked in the restaurant's lot behind the building, walked through those heavy front doors into the kind of manufactured quiet that only exists in establishments where wealthy people pay premium prices specifically to avoid encountering normal humans. The hostess greeted me with that ultra-professional smile they definitely teach in hospitality management training courses. Asked politely if I had a reservation for lunch today. I told her I was meeting my mother's party that should already be seated. She checked her tablet screen, nodded once, and led me down this carpeted hallway toward a private dining room situated at the very back of the restaurant. Through the glass partition separating the hallway from the dining room, I could see the entire setup laid out before I even stepped through the doorway. Long rectangular table set for exactly 10 people. My mother positioned at the head spot like she was chairing some kind of corporate board meeting. 8 or 9 guests surrounding her in the other seats. Ashley positioned directly at her right hand like some kind of trusted advisor. Trevor sitting beside Ashley looking visibly uncomfortable in his expensive suit. A handful of my mother's friends scattered around filling the remaining chairs. Fresh flowers arranged in crystal vases down the center line. Champagne flutes half full of something that probably cost more per bottle than my weekly grocery budget. Laughter bouncing off the walls and echoing in that specific way sound carries in rooms designed for it. I stepped through the doorway into the private dining room. The laughter cut off instantly like someone had physically flipped a power switch. My mother's eyes landed directly on me. Her facial expression shifted through what looked like several distinct emotions in the span of maybe 2 seconds total. Initial surprise that melted rapidly into confusion, that then hardened into something I'd definitely seen on her face before, but never actually wanted to name out loud. Not quite anger, exactly. Something colder than standard anger. More like disgust mixed with inconvenience. Like I was some delivery person who'd shown up at completely the wrong address, and now she had to waste her valuable time dealing with correcting my obvious mistake. She looked me up and down systematically. Took in my button-down shirt that was clean but clearly purchased off the rack at some discount store. My khakis that fit fine but definitely weren't designer label. My entire presence standing there in this expensive private dining room. Then she said it out loud for everyone assembled to hear clearly. Don't even think about picking up a plate here. You weren't counted in the reservation numbers. Your sister personally covered $3,000 for this entire meal. Her voice carried across the room without any effort. Flat and matter-of-fact. The exact same tone you'd use to inform someone the bathroom was currently occupied. Zero embarrassment, zero attempt to soften the message or pull me aside privately. Just a direct statement of fact delivered specifically to put me in my proper place in front of everyone assembled as witnesses. I stood there frozen in that doorway, still holding my car keys in one hand, feeling 9 separate pairs of eyes fix on me simultaneously like searchlights. The physical weight of that collective attention pressing down while my brain struggled to process what had just happened in the last 5 seconds. Ashley's face transformed right in front of me. Her smile spread slowly across her features, like oil spreading across water. That particular smile she'd perfected over the years of our lives together. The specific kind that never actually touches the eyes. The kind that communicates complete victory without requiring any words whatsoever. She leaned forward casually in her chair, rested her chin on one hand in this pose that somehow made the entire gesture feel exponentially more condescending than it already was. Her voice came out smooth and practiced when she decided to add her own contribution to the moment. Just stand there if you really want to. This table isn't for people like you. People like you? She actually used those exact words. Spoke them out loud in front of everyone present. While sitting at a table in a restaurant, my money had indirectly funded through 8 consecutive years of covering monthly expenses that allowed my mother to maintain the illusion she belonged in places exactly like this one. I didn't argue with either of them. Didn't raise my voice or make demands, or ask the obvious question about why I wasn't informed about this lunch I'd never been told existed. Didn't point out the layers of irony that my credit card was probably still saved in this restaurant's payment system from 6 months ago when I'd taken Mom out to dinner here for her birthday celebration. Didn't mention the more than $500,000 I'd quietly transferred over 8 years, while they both pretended I didn't exist in their lives, except when bills came due requiring payment. I just stood there completely silent, watching my mother pick up her champagne flute and physically turn her body back toward her assembled friends like I'd already left the building entirely. Watching Ashley's smile stay frozen on her face in that victorious expression. Watching Trevor study his plate like it contained encrypted secrets to the universe written in the pattern of the china. Watching the other guests slowly resume their previously interrupted conversations and collectively pretend they hadn't just witnessed something deeply disturbing happen right in front of them. A waiter materialized beside me out of nowhere. Young guy wearing the restaurant's standard uniform. He asked quietly and politely if I was planning to join the party after all. I shook my head without making eye contact. He nodded once in acknowledgement and disappeared back toward the kitchen area. I stayed standing there for maybe another 30 seconds, possibly less, long enough to watch my mother laugh naturally at something one of her friends said about upcoming vacation plans, long enough to see Ashley gesture enthusiastically toward the elaborate flower arrangement like she'd personally selected and arranged each individual bloom with expert botanical care, long enough to let the complete reality of this entire moment sink deep into my bones where it would stay permanently. Then I turned around, walked back down that carpeted hallway at a normal pace, past the hostess station where the young woman avoided making eye contact, through those heavy front doors into the parking lot and the regular air outside that didn't cost anything to breathe, got to my car, sat behind the wheel, staring at nothing in particular. The engine wasn't running yet. The radio was off. Just pure silence filling up all the space around me while my brain worked through processing what had just occurred inside that restaurant. My phone buzzed in my front pocket. I pulled it out and glanced at the screen. Payment notification from my bank. Ashley had just charged $3,174. 28 to my card currently on file at the Harborview restaurant system. The exact same card I'd used half a year ago when I'd treated Mom to her birthday dinner at this place. The same card I'd completely forgotten was still saved in their database for future transaction convenience. She'd charged the entire Mother's Day lunch to my personal account. Every single plate of food, every glass of champagne, every flower arrangement on that table, the private dining room rental fee, the service charges, the tax, all of it. Just put the entire bill on my card without asking permission first, without even mentioning it, without extending the most basic courtesy of checking if that was remotely acceptable. I stared at that payment notification on my phone screen, read the amount 3 separate times to make absolutely certain I wasn't hallucinating the number, felt something inside my chest that had been bending under pressure for 8 straight years, finally snapped completely in half. The sound wasn't loud or dramatic, didn't echo, just this quiet crack like a tree branch giving way under too much accumulated weight, and suddenly everything looked different, clearer, like I'd been staring at a picture that was out of focus my entire adult life, and someone had finally bothered to adjust the lens properly. I started the car, drove home at exactly the posted speed limit, didn't blast music or speed or do anything dramatic, just drove through suburban streets with my hands steady on the wheel while my brain ran calculations about what needed to happen next. Got to my apartment, walked through my front door, set my keys on the kitchen counter in their usual spot, opened my laptop on the dining table, logged into my bank account dashboard, started systematically canceling things. First cancellation was the automatic mortgage transfer to my mother's account. Clicked through all the confirmation screens without hesitation. Done. Vanished completely from my recurring payments list like it had never existed. Second cancellation was the utility payment arrangement covering her electric and water bills. 3 clicks through the interface. Gone. Third through 15th cancellations happened rapid fire. Insurance premium auto pays. Credit card minimum payments. Subscription services I didn't even use but paid for anyway. Lawn care company. Pest control service. HOA dues. Every single recurring payment that had her name or her account numbers attached to it anywhere in the system. Deleted systematically from my entire banking dashboard. Then I called my bank's customer service line directly. Waded through the automated phone menu. Finally got an actual human being on the line. Requested to have my mother removed as an authorized user on every single account where she currently had any access whatsoever. Updated all my security questions to answers she'd never guess in a million years. Changed every password to completely random combinations of letters and numbers she couldn't possibly figure out. Removed all saved payment methods from every restaurant and retail store and service provider she might potentially try to charge purchases to without permission. The entire process took maybe 45 minutes total. 8 years of carefully constructed financial entanglement dismantled in less time than it takes to watch a single episode of a sitcom. When I finished all of that, I pulled up my messaging app, typed out a text message addressed to my mother, didn't send it immediately. Just let it sit there on my screen while I read through it multiple times and decided whether I actually had enough guts to follow through with what I was about to do. The message read, "I've spent 8 years funding your lifestyle while being treated like I don't exist outside of my bank account balance. Today you made it explicitly clear where I stand in this family hierarchy. So I'm making it explicitly clear where you stand in my finances going forward. Every payment, every transfer, every safety net is permanently canceled, effective immediately. Figure it out on your own from now on. Don't contact me again." I read that message probably 15 times. Edited a few words here and there, read it again. Seriously considered deleting the entire thing and just going back to the old familiar arrangement where I paid and they took and nobody ever acknowledged what was actually happening. Then I remembered standing in that doorway while my mother looked at me with disgust and told me I wasn't counted in the reservation, while Ashley smiled and informed me the table wasn't for people like me, while they charged $3,000 to my card without any permission and expected me to just accept it quietly because that's what I'd always done before. I hit send. My phone started ringing within 60 seconds. Mom's name lit up the screen. I let it roll to voicemail. It rang again immediately. Voicemail again. Third time. Voicemail. I turned off the ringer completely and set the phone face down on my desk. By the time I checked it roughly an hour later, I had 47 total missed calls. 32 from my mother's number. 15 from Ashley's number. The voicemail inbox formed this clear progression through what looked exactly like the 5 stages of grief compressed into a single afternoon. First voicemail from Mom around 2:15 p.m. Pure confusion. "Kyle, hey, I don't understand something here. The mortgage payment didn't process through the bank this month. Can you check on that when you get a chance? Probably just some kind of technical glitch with the automated system." Fifth voicemail around 3:30 p.m. Denial rapidly shifting into anger. "Kyle, this isn't funny at all. Call me back right now. The bank representative says all the automatic transfers are canceled from your end. What's going on? You need to fix this immediately." 10th voicemail around 4:45 p.m. Bargaining phase. "Please just call me back so we can talk about this reasonably. I know you're upset about earlier, but we can work this out. Just call me." 15th voicemail around 6:20 p.m. Full panic mode. "You can't do this to me. You can't just abandon your family like this. I raised you better than what you're doing right now. This is cruel. This is vindictive. You're acting like a child. Please." Ashley's messages ran a completely different emotional spectrum. More entitled throughout. More indignant about the situation. Less panic and more genuine outrage that I dared to disrupt the comfortable arrangement. Her second voicemail. "Are you seriously throwing a tantrum over a stupid lunch? Mom said you showed up uninvited and made everything awkward for everyone there. Now you're sabotaging her finances? Grow up and fix whatever you broke with Mom's accounts." Her 7th voicemail. "I know you're seeing these messages, Kyle. This is absolutely ridiculous. You're being petty and immature about this. Mom is terrified she's going to lose the house. Is that what you want? To make your own mother homeless? Over what? Hurt feelings? Call her back." I didn't respond to any of them. Not one. I blocked both phone numbers from my contact list entirely. Then I blocked Trevor's number preemptively, because I knew with certainty he'd be next once Ashley recruited him into the situation. 3 days passed exactly like that. Calls kept flooding in from new numbers I didn't recognize at all. Friends of my mother I'd met once or twice at family functions. Extended family members I barely knew. Even Ashley's in-laws, who I'd probably met twice total in my entire life. Everyone reading from essentially the same script. I was being unreasonable about this. I was abandoning my family in their time of genuine need. I needed to really think about what I was doing before it became too late to repair the damage. I didn't repair anything. I let it burn completely. About a week later, my Aunt Linda called my number. She's my mother's younger sister. We'd always maintained a reasonably decent relationship over the years compared to everyone else. She didn't open the conversation with accusations or lectures about family obligation. Just asked straight up what had happened and why everyone in the family was apparently in crisis mode. I told her absolutely everything. The entire 8-year financial arrangement laid out in detail. The $550,000 in total transfers over that time period. The monthly expenses I'd been covering without fail. The Mother's Day lunch where I got explicitly told I wasn't counted and that the table wasn't for people like me. The $3,174 charged to my card without any permission. every piece of it explained chronologically and factually. Linda went completely silent for a long stretch. Maybe 30 seconds of dead air on the phone line. Then she said quietly, "I had absolutely no idea it was like that between you all. Your mother told everyone you were doing well financially, but she kept your business private out of respect for your independence. I genuinely thought she was just being considerate." "She was being considerate of her bank account," I said, "and her social image. Easier to let everyone think Ashley's the successful child-supporting mom than admit the son nobody pays attention to is actually the one keeping the lights operational." "What are you planning to do now?" Linda asked. Her tone wasn't judgmental at all, just genuinely curious where this situation was heading. "I'm going to live my life without funding hers," I replied. "For the first time since I was 24 years old, I'm going to keep my money in my own accounts and see what actually happens." "She's going to lose the house," Linda said. Statement of fact, not a question. "Then she'll lose the house," I said. Maybe she should have thought about those consequences before treating me like I was beneath her at a meal I'd indirectly paid for through 8 consecutive years of covering her lifestyle expenses. Linda didn't argue the point or try to convince me otherwise. Just sighed deeply and said, "I understand why you're angry. I don't necessarily agree with every choice you're making here, but I genuinely understand the anger." That conversation ended up being the last truly civil exchange I had with anyone in my extended family for more than a month. Next communication from my mother arrived through a lawyer. Well, not a real lawyer exactly. One of those online legal document services you can hire for like $200 to draft official-looking threatening letters on letterhead. The document claimed I had some kind of legal obligation to continue providing financial support because I'd supposedly established a pattern of dependency that created a quasi-contractual relationship under state law. It threatened immediate legal action if I didn't resume all payments immediately. I took the letter directly to an actual lawyer. Cost me $400 for a 1-hour consultation. He read through the entire document, actually laughed out loud, and told me this was complete nonsense with zero legal standing. I wasn't her spouse. I wasn't under any court order. I could stop giving her money whenever I wanted for any reason. His exact words were, "Tell them to pound sand and don't waste another second thinking about this." I didn't even bother responding to the letter at all. Just filed it away in a folder in case I needed documentation later for something. 2 weeks after that letter arrived, Ashley showed up physically at my apartment building. I spotted her through my peephole standing in the hallway. I didn't unlock my door or let her inside. We had our entire conversation through the door with me standing in my entryway and her standing in the hallway outside. "You're destroying Mom's entire life," she said. Her voice had this edge to it I'd genuinely never heard before from her. Desperation mixed with anger, mixed with something else. "She's going to lose everything because you decided to throw a fit." "I'm not destroying anything," I replied calmly through the door. "I'm just done paying for it." "There's a significant difference." "This is insane," Ashley said, volume rising noticeably. "You can't just cut off your own mother like this. She's family." "Watch me," I said. What do you want?" Her tone shifted suddenly, became almost pleading. "An apology? Fine. I'm sorry for what I said. Mom's sorry too. We're all sorry for whatever you think happened. Now fix this before it's too late." "I don't want an apology from either of you," I said. Let those words hang in the air for a few seconds. I want to be left completely alone. I want to live my life without being treated like a walking checkbook. I want to wake up every single morning and not wonder which bill I'm covering today for someone who couldn't be bothered to save me a seat at a table I've been indirectly paying for since I was 24 years old. "You're being incredibly petty about this whole thing," Ashley said. "And you're still not offering to help her yourself," I shot back. "Interesting how that works. You're standing here demanding I fix everything, but I notice you're not volunteering to cover the mortgage yourself. Why is that exactly?" She didn't have a response prepared for that. Just stood there silently in the hallway for a long moment, then turned around and walked away without another word. Found out later through Linda that my mother and Ashley had a massive screaming match after that apartment visit. Ashley told her if the house was so critically important, maybe she should sell some of those designer handbags collecting dust in her closet and actually cut back on expenses like normal people do when money gets tight. My mother accused Ashley of being selfish and ungrateful after everything she'd sacrificed raising her. Ashley fired back that she wasn't the one who'd spent 8 years systematically humiliating the person actually funding everything, while taking credit for success she didn't actually earn. They didn't speak to each other for 2 solid weeks after that fight. Then my mother called Ashley crying and apologizing and begging her to please help cover just the mortgage payment for a few months. Ashley said no. Said she had her own family to think about, her own bills to manage, her own financial responsibilities, her own life to maintain, without taking on someone else's. That's apparently when reality crashed into my mother like a freight train at full speed. The golden child couldn't save her. The dependable son wouldn't save her. And she was about to hit the ground without any safety net whatsoever. She tried one final time to reach me directly. Left a voicemail that I didn't listen to until 3 full days after she'd left it. When I finally played it back, her voice sounded completely different from the confident tone she'd used at the harbor view. Small, broken, barely holding together. Kyle, I know I hurt you badly. I know I took you for granted for years. I'm genuinely sorry for everything I put you through. I should have treated you so much better than I did. I should have appreciated everything you sacrificed. Please, I'm begging you. I can't lose this house. I can't lose. I don't know what to do anymore. Please just call me back. I listened to that entire voicemail. Let it play all the way through to the automated end. Felt absolutely nothing in response. Not anger, not satisfaction, not even sadness. Just this hollow emptiness where 8 years of accumulated resentment used to occupy space. I deleted the voicemail. Went back to living my life. 3 months later, Linda called with an update I hadn't asked for, but somehow knew was eventually coming. My mother sold the house. Couldn't maintain the mortgage payments once I stopped covering them every month. The bank had started formal foreclosure proceedings, and she'd managed to sell before it progressed that far. Moved into a 2-bedroom apartment in a neighborhood on the opposite end of town from where she'd been living. Downsized absolutely everything. Got a part-time retail position at a department store to cover her new reduced expenses. Ashley helped her physically move boxes on moving day, but didn't contribute any money to the actual process. The friends who used to show up regularly for brunch and afternoon shopping trips stopped calling as frequently. Turns out most of those relationships were built primarily on the lifestyle rather than the person underneath it. Once the nice house disappeared and the fancy dinner invitations dried up completely, so did most of her social circle. Ashley and Trevor continue living their lives exactly as before. Still posting photos on social media like nothing changed in their world whatsoever. Still getting praised by extended family for being successful and responsible and put together. The only visible difference now is my mother can't afford to attend their events anymore. Can't afford the outfit requirements. Can't afford the expected hostess gifts. Can't afford to maintain the appearance that she belongs in their elevated social circle. 6 months after that Mother's Day lunch, a package arrived in my apartment building mail. No return address printed on it anywhere. Inside was a simple greeting card. Generic sunset photo on the front. Handwritten message on the inside from my mother. I'm sorry for everything I put you through over the years. I hope one day you can find it in yourself to forgive me. I understand completely if you can't. I just wanted you to know that I finally see what I did to you. I finally understand what I took from you all those years. I wish I could go back and change every single choice I made. I can't do that. So all I can do now is say I'm sorry and hope it eventually means something. Love, Mom. I read it 3 times. Studied the handwriting carefully. Looked for any signs it was written under duress or coaching from someone else. Couldn't find any obvious indicators. Seemed genuine. Seemed like actual remorse. I put the card in a drawer in my desk. Went about my day. Maybe someday I'll respond to it. Maybe I won't. Right now, I'm focused entirely on building a life where I'm not defined by how much money I can transfer to people who never transferred anything back except demands and disappointments and humiliation. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel and help us bring you more and better stories. Thanks.